Canastota, New York, at the International Boxing Hall of Fame with Ed Brophy. Ed, may I ask you how you first got involved in boxing?
Well, born and raised in the village of Canastota here. It's a boxing town, and everybody loved boxing. The history of boxing goes back over 100 years. So if you were born and raised and brought up in this town, you talked boxing, you liked boxing, and you probably did some boxing. So I went to the gym when I was a young kid, watching the fighters train, and did some amateur boxing. I always followed the history of our Carmen Basilio, who was from Canastota. We had another world champion in the 1970s, Billy Backus. We've had amateur fighters, high school boxing teams, 100 years of boxing history. So I just fell in love with boxing and became involved in the project because of my love of boxing, the love of the community, and the whole village wanted to honor boxing in a very unique way. And what better sport that there is? The village of Canastota says it's boxing, and just want to pay tribute to the great sport of boxing. So I've always been involved because of my love of the sport, and if you're from Canastota, you love boxing.
I just came from, the collection you have here, and I took an entire tour of everything. I looked at every piece you had in that curation. What would you say is one of the, or are some of the hardest pieces that you've gotten in this place?
Well, over the years, there's a lot of unique pieces that have been donated. Everything's been donated through the love of boxing, through family members, through boxers, through just collectors, or somebody passes away in a family and they're sorting out things in their house and they think it should be preserved. Or, for example, the ring that I'm standing by is the famous ring from Madison Square Garden, the most famous ring in the world. The Garden bought a new ring, and they wanted to decide where this ring would be preserved. So they decided, Canastota, New York, at the International Boxing Hall of Fame. This ring was at the Garden from 1925 to 2007, 82-year-old. So it's held the battles of the greatest fights in history. It's the most important ring. And so this ring is probably one of the most treasured items that is on display here. But then, of course, all the different fist casts that are on display of the great champions of Mickey Walker, Jack Johnson, all the great champions, their fists are on display. The championship belts of Jose Torres, Carmen Basilio, Tony Zale, you name it, championship belts are on display. The boxing robes from Azuma Nelson to Michael Spinks to Emil Griffith, list goes on and on of all the great robes and trunks and boxing shoes. The fight tickets date back to Corbett and Sullivan, and then of course Marciano, Joe Louis. So it really, the list goes on and on of the great treasures. And there's a lot that's on display, and there's a lot that gets rotated. We're looking to expand the museum because we have so much that needs to be displayed at one time. And our archives, that's in the lower end of the museum, the research center, is the collection that is the largest in the world of research material. So we're going to be building a larger museum, and also it's going to include a library where everybody can study the sport. So we've enjoyed receiving the treasures of boxing, preserving it, and that's the mission of the Hall of Fame. Preserve the history of the sport, honor those who have excelled, and this is the 25th anniversary. We're very excited about it to celebrate 25 years, and it's been really being something that's been special because of the many volunteers, the supporters, the world of boxing who helps out all different boxing fans that come from around the world. And it's the magic that makes it happen for the love of boxing. And we're just so delighted to put out the red carpet for boxing not only every year for the Hall of Fame weekend, but put out the red carpet for boxing fans to come and visit boxing's hometown, visit the museum, learn of the sport. We just love to do that on a daily basis.
You just answered my next question about the extension. So now I ask, when should boxing fans expect that project to be completed?
Well, right now we've got a grant from New York State. We're raising money, and we're hoping over the next year and a half we can raise the money that's needed. And then we can begin to look at the construction phases thereafter. The success of the fundraising is going to be dependent on the size of the expansion. So we're now having negotiations with the boxing community, with different ones within the boxing community, those who maybe are just even on the outside of the boxing community, just those who want to do something nice for the village of Canastota and help the Hall of Fame and grow bigger. So there's a lot of different people we're talking to from many different directions that want to be involved. So we hope that anybody who loves boxing gives us a call and helps us in our fundraising so we can expand the museum and display everything at one time. It's great for the sport of boxing. Baseball has their hometown in Cooperstown. Football has it in Canton, Ohio. Hockey in Toronto. Swimming in Fort Lauderdale. Boxing has its hometown here in Canastota, New York. So it's great for the sport. We just love honoring it.
And what does the International Boxing Hall of Fame mean to the local community here in Canastota?
Well, it means a lot because the heart and soul of the village of Canastota is into this project. This project has been made possible because of the village of Canastota, the village residents. They volunteer their time. The community organization hosts events, not only for the Hall of Fame weekend, but throughout the year. And everybody loves boxing in this village and just loves paying tribute to it. And have become friends with so many other boxing fans from around the world that come and visit every year. So it's a very welcoming feeling to welcome boxing fans. If you have boxing in your blood, the people of Canastota understand it, feel it, and embrace it. And so it's very meaningful, the sport of boxing, for the village of Canastota.
You have a big weekend coming up in June. Can you tell me how the preparations go? For a big weekend like that?
The excitement of the Hall of Fame weekend actually begins when the following day after each year's induction, because it takes a whole year to plan it. But in the fall time, as it's building up with the induction process, and then the press conference in December every year to announce the new inductees, all the volunteers work on all the different details, from hosting a banquet, a golf tournament, a boxing card show, ringside lectures on the grounds, a 5K fun run. There's several events, and it takes 300 to 500 volunteers. They work on it year-round, and the preparation right now is going fantastic for the 25th anniversary. It'll be June 5th through the 8th, and the volunteers are going to put on a fantastic weekend to celebrate the sport of boxing, the 25th anniversary. It's going to be something special. This year's inductees of the boxers in the modern category: Oscar De La Hoya, Felix Trinidad, and Joe Calzaghe from England. 3 great fighters, and they got a lot of fans coming in of their friends and family members, and of course boxing fans from around the world are going to be here to celebrate the 3 boxers. And then of course there's the non-participants and the observer categories, and then there's the deceased honorees, family members to represent the deceased honorees. And it's very special when that happens, that ceremony. It's very so heartwarming, and people come and cheer and accept for their loved ones who passed away from maybe the bare knuckle fighters or the old timers. So the Boxing Hall of Fame recognizes the fighters from back to the bare knuckle days, to the old timers, to the modern categories, to the non-participants, the trainers, the referees, the writers, the journalists, and the observer category. It honors the entire sport dating way back to the 1700s, and each year in June, that celebration of boxing is embraced here in Canastota.
Who have been the most difficult attendees to get here?
There never has been a difficult attendee. Everybody's heartwarming and loves to be here for the induction weekend. They've all showed their sense of appreciation to the volunteers, to the Hall of Fame organization, and everybody's been just splendid. And that's what really makes the magic. Boxing is a very special sport. The boxers, the trainers, the cutmen, the ring announcers, the broadcasters. It's a very special family, boxing. And they appreciate the sport that they're in. They appreciate the fans, and they intermingle with them when they're here during the Hall of Fame weekend, signing autographs, taking pictures, telling stories. There is no other sports Hall of Fame that really puts on such a 4-day weekend with the magic that happens. Now, the magic is because the volunteers, the boxing fans, and the inductees, the celebrities, the champions. And you blend that all together, it's just magical. And it's been said time and time again that there's nothing like the boxing fans, there's nothing like the boxers themselves, because they're so willing to take a picture with a fan, to sign an autograph, and intermingle. And that's what happens. You could be just walking around and Jake LaMotta, Marvin Hagler walks by you, signs an autograph, takes a picture. Could be any of the great champions of yesterday or of today. It just is, it's a magical thing, and Canastota is so fortunate and delighted and honored to honor the great sport of boxing.
There's a pretty huge fight going on that weekend. I don't know if you heard, Saturday, yes, June 7th, between Miguel Cotto and Sergio Martinez. Where should boxing fans be that weekend?
Well, you're either going to be at Madison Square Garden in the house to watch the fight, or you're going to be up in Canastota, New York, and enjoying the 4-day induction weekend, and also watching the fight at different locations that we'll be having available. So it's going to be great for boxing. We're excited. That's what boxing is all about, for boxing action to take place and to honor the history of boxing. So if you're a boxing fan, it's a great weekend.
Once again, I'm here with Ed Brophy, the Executive Director at the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Thank you for your time, Ed.
Sounds great.